proposals with regards to the Act speaks to the need to have a much more coordinated approach in terms of dealing with the threats that comes with the use of cyberspace and of course with the digitization. So that is one of the major things, and that might necessitate us to look at the various agencies and have them properly or better coordinated. But also the issue around sharing of data, sharing of information is also very critical as a proposal that is coming up that we need to look at as part of those proposed amendments. Definitely there are gaps, and part of that is as a result of the element of time. The Act was set up in 2018, and between 2018 and today there's been a lot that has happened within the space because it's a fast-changing environment. So that is one of the main reasons why we need to relook at the Act. And just like any other law, when you set up a law today, the circumstances today might not be the same circumstances you'll be faced with 3 years down the line, or 4 years down the line, or 5 years down the line, like in this particular case in point.
So when is this process expected to end?
The task force has a few weeks to 1 month to conclude the process. But then in terms of the public participation, we have to do 2 weeks of notification and another 2 weeks of actual discourse. So public participation is expected to take 1 month, and then arising out of that, then we progress it to Parliament. Thank you. As part of an assignment that we began almost 6 months ago, we did set up a task force to look at the regulations out of the 2018 Computer Cybercrimes Act. And these regulations are supposed to go through a series of processes. Now we have the 2 co-chairs and the task force team members who are drawn from all the government agencies that deal with issues to do with the cyberspace, issues on ICT and digitization. As you're aware, the government is keen on digital transformation, and most recently there's been a lot of activities within the digital space. Now this task force has finally come up with the draft regulations. These draft regulations needs to be taken through public participation and subsequently to Parliament for their passage, and then we are able to start implementing those regulations. In a nutshell, the regulations are speaking to 3 main things. One is with regards to the critical information infrastructure, how we need to secure them. 2 is with regards to how to deal with cybercrime that emanates out of the use of cyberspace. And 3, it focuses on the issues of capacity building and capacity development for those of us who work or who are going to use cyberspace for purposes of communication, for purposes of doing business, and for purposes of also communicating and relaying information and taking care of the developments that happen within that space every other day. So once we go through the public participation, and we will be making a communication to the public so that they are able to have a very personalized interaction with these draft regulations. We want to hear what they think is okay with the regulations that have been proposed, what they would want us to adjust or change, because it's a constitutional requirement that when you develop regulations as such, the public must participate. And subsequent to that, we will then be able to go to Parliament, and once Parliament has also interacted and finally approved those regulations, then we'll go into its implementation. Lastly, what is notable is that the act that we are developing regulations for was passed in 2018. That's over 5 years ago. And within those 5 years, there's been a lot of changes in terms of technology. And there may be need for us to have amendment to the act. But we'll be able to deal with that based on the proposals that we'll get from the public, but also the proposals that have come from the task force.